When I talk about the importance of commitment when doing something in terms of working within the writing process, I don't mean strictly just committing yourself to the project and walking yourself right away into the room and jumping into it as soon as possible. Although I will admit that's something that I do frequently and very often. But I'm also talking about things in the long term as well too. Probably one of the best prime examples of that happens to be this particular group of people right here. And each one of these people that you see in this photo are actually all very close personal friends. Some of us actually go as far back to elementary school. What you do also see, though, if you were to look into some of my early works, is if you look at the character descriptions very carefully and with a very keen and astute eye, you will be able to figure out exactly who I was spending time with while putting that particular story together, because they ended up becoming a character. Or in certain cases as well too, they were the subject of a teenage crush and attempt at writing romantic poetry. But of course now these days, uh, especially with the age of COVID and everything else, it's still a close knit circle of friends. We speak literally about 3 to 4 times daily with our own special messenger group. And of course, nowadays, besides writing projects and creative endeavors, it's the running joke of the joys of age. Some of us, laugh about the fact of the roles changing between parent to child, and others, of course, living the life of bachelors and enjoying the weekends out and about as well too. But either way, though, even now, with the advent of social media and modern technology, the opportunity of finding creative ideas and different types of writing concepts and projects is still predominantly available. It's just a matter of looking, watching, and listening without bringing one in particular. And I'm doing this for a very important reason, because I know his train of thought and I know his actions, and I'll explain it this way. Um, Dolly Parton had Kenny Rogers. Kenny Loggins had Tom Cruise for Top Gun, taking him into the danger zone, and Sylvester Stallone met him halfway as well too, and over the top. So, in this case, I have another buddy of mine. His name is Kenny, and Kenny and I go back nearly 40 years. Used to live right around the corner and down the street from my house when I was growing up. So these days, while I'm pursuing my work as a writer and author and script writer, he himself is actually a graphic designer. And so ever since I've become pushing towards the public eye with a lot of my projects, I know that what I've done has also helped him, not only inspiring him, but also has met with his approval, because 9 times out of 10, within the first hour or two of me uploading an update or a video, my phone will be going off and I will have some feedback and critique, and also a slightly modified image courtesy of Photoshop and other graphic design programs, and his steady hand at the control, obviously. So, I definitely want to go ahead and just give a shout out right now, and just say that I'll just wait for the phone to go off, and let's see how you do with this one. In my previous videos, I shared the story of mi otro familia, my group of co-workers that I worked with in a warehouse many years ago. And This part comes as a two-part story, so this is the follow-up to it with a little bit more backstory. Uh, One of the things that I do have to kind of chuckle about, and I kind of helped in putting it together in some of my future projects, just the overall theme about it. But the night that I was hit by the drunk driver and had the accident, uh, roughly a few weeks into my recovery is when I got the notification that my company was going under. And so one day I got a phone call from my friends in the department, and so they wanted to inquire not only how I was feeling, but also exactly what was going on in terms of the police case, because it was a hit and run. So lo and behold, unfortunately, being a hit and run, they couldn't do that much to begin with, so it was kind of an open shut case. So I tried to explain that to them. Um, didn't think too much about it or anything like that until about maybe 2 hours later, when after falling asleep for a bit, I got a phone call from one of the managers at the warehouse, and they asked if I had spoken with anybody in my department. And I said yes. They called me over lunch to check on me, and we kind of made some small talk here and there. Why? Is there a problem? And the manager explained that yes, there was a situation on hand, and they were just trying to connect the dots. So, you know, kind of in its own little version of Scarface, in a matter of speaking, which I have to laugh about. Um, my department, Mi Otro Familia, consisted of a group of mothers from Colombia and Argentina. So after speaking with me, they took it upon themselves to punch out of work, and the entire department went on the hunt for the person that caused the accident to hit me. So, uh, unfortunately, they couldn't find them, or maybe fortunate. It depends on how you want to look at things. So, instead, what they did was they decided to put together the last final parting gift. Obviously, with the company going under and such. So, like I stated before, um, they pulled their expenses together, and so they bought me my first laptop computer, and then they bought me all the writing programs and a printer, and 3 or 4 cases of paper so I can actually put my book together. So uh, you can see here the picture. Uh, Everything above the hammer mill actually was random sets of dishes, empanadas, taquitos, tacos, chicken dishes, yellow rice, and cases of wine from their home country, and sometimes even their own family vineyard. And so, you know, this particular group helped in a lot of ways, because as I came into finishing my second book, which was my Chronicles of the Dragon's Bane Volume 1, I had made arrangements to do a book signing through Borders Books. And in this case, I had a huge working relationship with this particular store, because through my Titanic efforts, I was able to give them an audience of 600 people and had them outdo their sales record, even outdoing Black Friday, and even in the off season. So, what better place to set up and do a book signing than a place that knows you, and a place that you can help to kind of share and show support to. Well, unfortunately, what happened was the management, being retail and everything else, they had a transition, and a new manager came in. And this new manager, unfortunately, was very, very full of himself, and really did not care what happened in the past. He was more focused on the present situation and things like that. So when it came time to arrange for the book signing, he was extremely hesitant on really wanting to do too much. He didn't like the publishing company that put the book out, and he didn't expect that big of an audience. Um, didn't want to even promote anything or even hang any flyers up, for that matter. So you know, everything kind of fell strictly into my lap. And then as a last minute uh, challenge, it was kind of a thorn to the side, but it kind of worked in its own sense of putting an extra bit of fuel to the fire. Was he agreed to order copies of the book under the strictest condition. It would be a one-time thing for the book signing, and whatever would not be sold, I would have to buy back at the retail price. And so, uh, just to really try to drive the point home, he actually ordered about 6 cases of the book. So, 6 cases at a retail price of $20 would have, would be quite a huge investment and possibly a big boulder if things went wrong. So, fortunately enough, not only did my old friends from school and everything else come together to help in putting together a decent marketing campaign, but even mi otro familia came in as well too. So between the two of them, and under the guidance of my late mentor, Dr. Jeff Singleton, who had helped me in developing my brand through most of my early years, we were able to pull off not only a very successful book signing, but after the event itself, we ended up going across the street to a local family owned Italian restaurant that I had known the owners for many years. And there in the back of the restaurant, we actually set up a film crew and recorded not only the after effects of the event itself, but also a full interview that he had the intentions of submitting through his production company over to C-SPAN to be profiled on the TV series Books and Authors. And so it's one of those aspects that you have to think about and definitely consider as you move forward, because sometimes the challenges do arise, and sometimes it can be quite intimidating if you allow it to be. But it's all about, even though I've been very fortunate to have a lot of inspiration and motivation provided by a number of friends and colleagues, things have not been that easy as well either. I mean, um, there have been challenges that have risen up, and there were obstacles that needed to be broken through and even climbed over in certain cases. Uh, One of the biggest issues that I had in later years was I realized that I was living with a glass ceiling above me, where I've been very fortunate enough to have the support and the recognition on the local side of things, and throughout my town and throughout my county and things like that. Uh, Breaking into the larger audience was a whole nother ball game, and so it soon became rather confusing and ironic in a lot of ways. Um, when I would start to reach out and start querying to the different agencies and such, and even with letters of intent to buy for certain titles, and letters of recommendation, recognition, accolades, and awards, a lot of times the response back was a rejection letter saying that this doesn't meet the industry standards and things along those lines. Now, just like anybody else, I could have just given up and walked away, but that's not me. That's not who I am. You know, I'm too much of a planner and a thinker. I think it just boils down to me having a nice little passion for doing research on things, you know. So instead, I opted for Plan B, and so I went ahead and I enrolled into Full Sail University, and you know, during the course of the first couple of classes, I was noticing right off the bat, obviously, since it had been nearly 30 years since I'd stepped foot into a classroom academically, that a lot of things had changed. But even at that point, though, um, as driven as I was, um, I did come up with one minor little hiccup at one point early into the program. And I was taking this quiz for my one class. It was a class run by my former professor, Christopher Ramsey. And, he had organized it where even though the class projects and things like that consisted of random little tidbits to help pursue the creativity and to force critical thinking for different type of aspects of writing, the larger bulk of the grade relied more on his tests. And so this particular time, I had royally bombed the test. And so I went ahead and I sent him an email and I asked him that even though I know it's not really protocol or anything like that, but now that the grade is in, may I have a look at the master copy of the quiz so that way then I know where I made the mistake in the event that any of these things arise in a later project. And not only did he oblige and send me a copy of the test answers themselves, but he ended it with a quote that actually drew considerable inspiration and really, really changed my experience the rest of the time attending the school. And it was just a very simple sentence, though. All he told me was, it's not the grade, it's the journey. And he was right. He was absolutely right. The journey was wild. There were things that I had never anticipated that I had an opportunity of doing. Lessons that I learned from people that I'd only had admired at a distance. And ironically enough, at one point, um, which is still sometimes brought up in running jokes to this day among some of my friends and colleagues, one of the teachers that I had, ironically enough, prior to attending Full Sail, I actually had bought a copy of one of their books and had used it as reference material for one of my own projects. So it's the old joke about the 6 degrees of separation. But that particular journey, though, helped in building the foundation for me to continue pushing forward. And not only did I have a sense of renewal, invigoration, but it also my determination to reach my goals even became more solidified and a lot more valid now that I had the degree behind me to say, yes, I have the official experience. I can do. When I graduated Full Sail in March of 2019, I literally and quite honestly, I walked out of those two doors off the main stage, stage right, and I came out swinging. And never before had I felt such a level of pride and extra informed determination as well too. So within the days coming home from the graduation ceremony itself, you know, I packed up everything from from the school and sat down and I started outlining the next stage of my life. And that's just how I've always done things. I'll put together my own list of goals and I'll put it someplace accessible so I know if ever I want to find out how far I've accomplished or how far I need to go or things like that, it's already on hand. And so, it's just been my own little method of the madness, shall we say. And so, within the months following that is when things really started to blossom for me into new venues and even new ventures. It started with the help of a very good friend of mine named Mark Allen Pilgrim, who is an actor over in the United Kingdom. He and I had crossed paths, just like with anybody else that works social media these days. We had known each other for over a decade, although we have never actually been in the same room together. We have, however, at times shared creative input, critiques, and feedback of our own endeavors. And it was through him that I was introduced to Phoenix Rising Media, a small production company out in the Midlands of the United Kingdom. And within the first few months of communicating with them on a professional level, the first door of an opportunity arrived when I was offered the chance to share one of my scripts with them. And, again, me being the type of writer that I am, and, with the love of being, history, mythology, and literature, and then of course from the audience perspective, being a fan of independent horror, suspense, comedy, and even dark comedy, I had submitted a fun little piece that I had written that was literally my first short film. That was a 2-minute piece, and it was humbling and amazing when the immediate reaction was an opportunity to option the script. And lo and behold, within the first, I would say, 4 months after graduation, a package arrived from overseas with the option agreement, the contracts, and all the legal aspects. So right off the bat, I went ahead and I notified one of my former professors, Chad Coop, and I asked his input on the situation, and he had experience on the entertainment business side as well as being a teacher. And so he looked over the material and not only gave the green light, but he let me know that he was very surprised that I was actually going to be working in the UK market, because being an American, it is virtually impossible to try to work overseas like that because of the differences on some of their policies, regulations, insurances, and even sometimes even their work schedules. So, he said that I definitely need to put a little extra feather on my cap on that one. And so, not only was that more awe-inspiring, but it made things all the more fruitful when I put the pen to the paper and signed my name, and officially had my first film released. And the message came out in November of 2019, and is still in circulation and streaming today. And by the end of November, early December, I had been put in touch with another gentleman named George Ohan of the Fulton Film Company. And once again, it's just one of those things, you know, like I've said before, and I could probably just say it again. I treat everybody that I meet the same. You know, I don't care what your job position is. I don't care what title that you have. You're still a person, and so uh, I'll still give you the same amount of respect, even if you're the janitor of the company. And so, you know, it's just how I've always been. I think that's probably one of the reasons why, you know, so many of my friendships have lasted for so long. You know, in this day and age. And so, in this case, Mr. Ohan was putting together a film festival, all circulating around financial literacy. And so, you know, he had an opportunity and gave an invitation for any screenwriters to go ahead and try to submit to it. So, you know, I sat down and I penned something together and I sent it over to him and didn't think that much about it. Walked away until I got this one particular phone call.
W.E. Brower Jr. Hello, sir. It's George Ohan, producer here in California. I got your script. It's really awesome. Great idea, great concept. I love it. I sent you a little note on the email, and it's not that I'm trying to get another script out of you. We just like this whole program is called Teach Coach Mentor, so we're really pushing the writers, the directors, cinematographers, the actors to really challenge themselves to say, okay, I think I was done, but if I went back and looked at this thing again, how can I improve it just a little bit? And so I hope you're enjoying this, and it's a really great story. I'd love to see this story come to life. I hope we can shoot a short film out of it. So looking forward to hearing back from you. Thank you, sir. Bye.
So, the Financial Literacy Film Festival uh, kicked off officially in April of 2020 and featured my second film, No Credit, Big Problem, produced by Mr. Ohan himself and with a cast of both established and up-and-coming actors and even a production crew of aspiring filmmakers. So, um, all things very important to me because, you know, without my friends and colleagues over the years, I would not have been able to get it as far as I have. And so, um, taking things to the next level, passing the torch, and inspiring the next generation are all things that are very, very important and dear to me. And so, lo and behold, a few months after the festival, um, there was a little invitation from an agency called KMP Entertainment, and it was an opportunity to share writing material, with the grand prize being agency representation. And that's one of those times where I will admit the opportunist in me decided to go ahead and step over the pragmatic thinker. And, you know, I put together a nice presentation package and, you know, shared from one of my Titanic books and submitted it into the contest. And as I've said before, you know, I have my own little life goals and my own little list. And, you know, of the ones up to this particular point in time that I still had available on my list was to seek agency representation, be involved in the next expedition to the Titanic, travel to Turkey and actually stand before the walls of Troy themselves. Of course, being a Floridian and, you know, if you follow the zodiac, being a Pisces, um, recertify all of my scuba diving license and certification, and continue my hunt for the remaining ships of the 1715 Silver Fleet. You know, one of the advantages of being Floridian, and besides being close to the beach, is the fact that, the real Pirates of the Caribbean did use a lot of the coastline for the base of operations. So, fun little historical tidbit for anybody watching. But that's when I was able to take